So this is the first session that we are going to officially write some Spring application. And in this first session, we are going to learn how to use the Add Component Annotation. So as we said before, this annotation is the essence of the annotation-based configuration. And so as you remember, we had three types of ways for configuring the Spring IOC container or Spring dependency injector or whatever you name it. One of them was XML, which we crossed it off from our list. The other two remaining configuration types were Java-based configuration and annotation-based configuration. So in this session, we are going to tackle the root, the main building block of the annotation-based configuration in a Spring IOC container. So as we said before, in Spring, in order for the IOC container to provide an instance of the requested object, it has to know about it. So we have to configure it. And we have to introduce at least one bean definition about the class that will actually be instantiated by the injector, by the IOC container. So this Add Component Annotation is for annotating the classes that we want the IOC container to be aware of. And those are the classes that we want the IOC container to detect, scan and detect and find them, and define and create a new bean definition inside itself, so that when we ask for an instance of that class, or when one of other classes, other dependencies or dependents ask for instance of that specific class, then the IOC container would be able to answer that request and provide the instance. So let's first create a simple class, actually a simple POJO Java class outside of the Spring, and let's see what will happen. So let's say we have this car example, the car class we had it from before in previous videos. And let's say that it is so simple and it doesn't have any fields or any dependencies yet. So in order for us, if we want to create an instance from this class anywhere, let's say inside the main function, we want to create an instance. We have to simply create an instance by calling the new operator. And we call the default constructor inside the car. And we are doing this manually, like we've done it every time we have instantiated an object. So nothing special here. But now let's say that we want to offload this responsibility of how to know to instantiate this class to some other tool, and in this case, the Spring IOC container. And we want to ask it to provide us an instance of this class. So in order to do that, we have to annotate this class by Add Component Annotation. So Add Component Annotation is inside the Spring framework, and I've already added the jar artifact of Spring Context. And if you don't know how to create a project inside the IntelliJ IDEA, a Gradle project or Maven project, and add the dependency, just stick with me to the end of the video. I'll explain how to create a new project. But for the moment, let's just get back to our example, to the car class. So now we have annotated this class with Add Component Annotation. And so what it does is that it is annotating this class as a bean definition. So when the Spring container, the IOC container, scans the project for annotated classes, it will find this class and it will define a bean definition, so which is a source of actually providing instances of this class. So if we want to create an instance from this class, first we need to access an implementation of the application context. So what is an application context? Because this is the first session that we are diving into the Spring project and coding with the Spring, I just want to show you a little bit of the internals of the Spring. I know it might sound actually complicated, but just a little bit, just to touch the surface here. So this interface named Application Context, which is inside the Spring framework and which is actually added to the project by this dependency, the Spring context, is responsible for everything about dependency injection. So this is the heart of the Spring IOC container, and it will actually gather all the bean definitions from all the sources, from all the configurations. And in this case, because we are using annotation-based configuration, it will seek for classes annotated with Add Component, and it will create a bean definition. And from there on, it knows about that class, and it can create instances from that, and it can provide instances. So in order to create and actually access the capabilities of Spring IOC container, we have to create an instance. We have to create a class, actually instantiate a class that implements this application context. And there are a bunch of implementations of this application context, at least one for each type of configuration type. So in the case of annotation-based configuration, the one that we are going to use is, let's name it dependency injector or IOC container or application context, whatever. The one that we are going to use is annotation config application context. So if I want to prove my actual statement, we can go into the implementation and see that this class is actually extending the application context, you can see. So the annotation config application context is itself an implementation of the application context. And so if we want this annotation config to scan and find all those annotated classes with Add Component Annotation, we have to tell it where to look actually and find those. And so we could give any packages, and we want to narrow down the packages, because if we give, for example, the com package, it will look not only our classes, it will also look inside the dependencies that we've added to the project. There are a bunch of dependencies that we've added. We have added this Spring context, but there are other dependencies that are the dependencies of this. For example, it has added the Spring core, the Spring beans. So as you can see, there might be thousands of classes. So we want to narrow it down, and we want to say, please look inside the com-spring.tutorial, because this is our package, come to Spring tutorial. We are telling here that please look inside this package and its inner packages, and find all those classes that are annotated with Add Component. And because we've have this car class that is annotated with Add Component, so if we run it, we can ask a bunch of questions from this application context. For example, get me all the bean definitions. So as we said before, we are expecting it to find the classes that are annotated with Add Component and create and define a new bean definition. So let's print out all the bean definition names here and see if it has been successful finding the car class. So print out the name. Let's say bean : and the name. Let's print out and see what will happen here. So this is the first time we are starting the program. It might take some time to compile. And okay, now it is printing a bunch of stuff. You can see the last one is bean car, the name of the bean definition. These other beans are defined by the Spring framework itself. And let's just get rid of them for the moment. Let's say that if the name contains org.Spring framework, I don't want to see them. They are for the Spring itself. I just want to see my own bean definitions. Okay, now it is printing a single bean here. And we have talked about what is a bean, what is a component in the previous episode, and what is a bean definition. And if you don't know what is a bean, I recommend you to go and see the previous video. So we have now created a bean here. And so now the application context or the Spring IOC container is loaded with that bean. So we could actually ask it to provide an instance like so. We could say get bean. There are a bunch of get bean functions overloaded, and we just want to use for the moment the one that actually finds by type. So we are asking for an instance of the car class. And let's see that car equals car class. Okay. And let's print out to see if it is able to provide that car instance. Okay. Okay. As you can see, it has created a car instance and it has provided to us because it inside the application context or inside the Spring IOC container, it has at least one bean definition that could satisfy this request, this query. We are asking for an instance. So this car class was annotated with add component, and this made the Spring capable of finding this class, scanning this class and finding it and defining a bean definition. And as you can see, the name of the bean is the name of the class with the first letter actually lowercase. So this is the default name when we annotate a class. We could override it like so. We could say the car. I don't know. So we are overriding the name of and as you can see, it is overridden. And also we could ask a bunch of other questions about this bean. Let's get the bean definition by name and var bean def. So as you can see, the bean definition is an official class. It is an official interface inside the Spring framework, which encapsulates the properties and information about that class or that method that we will be seeing that makes the IOC container capable of providing an instance. So let's say that the bean, which is what comes by the name, also has type of bean def, and ask what is the bean class name and print it out. And we can see that the car has type of com.spring.tutorial.car. So that is the type of the class. And that what made the dependency injector, the IOC container, capable of providing an instance of this class. So as we said, the add component is simply a class actually. It is a simply Pojo class, a Java class, which is just annotated with add component. And which we could actually manually, we could instantiate it. But we will see that it is beyond it is more than a class. It has a name and it has a scope, and it might have life cycle methods that you can annotate and introduce them to the Spring IOC container. Also, it could be wrapped with extra behavior. We'll see all those, but for the moment, it might seem ridiculous to use a third-party tool, and also we are using it in a service locator style. We are asking from a service locator or factory to provide an instance, and it is true that it has hit the all those complexity behind this class. But for a single class, it might seem actually ridiculous and unnecessary to use a third-party tool for just instantiating. But the more we advance, you'll see that it might actually pay off in some situations, at least. And we will be using them a lot when we write Spring applications. So that's enough for now and for this session. And in this session, we just get familiar with the Add Component Annotation. So as I promised at the beginning of the session, I want to show you how to create a new project inside the Spring, the IntelliJ IDEA, the IDE. You could use any IDE, to experiment and write a Spring application, because we are underneath using the Gradle build tool here. You could use the Maven build tool, and then you could use any IDE. So inside the IntelliJ, if you want to create a new project, you have to actually select the Maven or Gradle and actually select the Java. And after clicking next and creating the project, inside the build.gradle file, if you go with the Gradle option, inside the dependencies, you have to add the Spring Context dependency. And you could actually find this dependency in the Maven Central. You could search for Maven Central Spring Context. And as you can see, this is the repository. And we are using the latest version here. And if you click on one of the versions, here, if you go with the Gradle option or Maven, you could copy and paste that part here inside the dependencies and hit sync, and it will download all the dependencies and its transitive dependencies. Spring Context has a bunch of other dependencies. And it has AOP. It is dependent on beans, on Spring Core and Spring Expression. And these dependencies might be dependent on other dependencies. So as you can see, we've just added the Spring Context, but it has add some extra dependencies as well. So this tool, this Gradle tool, is managing all those dependency stuff, and it provides the classes at the runtime and at compile time for us. And we are able to see all these classes added to the project. So yeah, that is actually the simplest form of the project we can create. And it shouldn't be that hard for you if it's the first time you are seeing the Gradle project. There are a lot of good sources out there that you can use to see how to create a new project inside your IDE of your choice. So stay tuned for the next session.